Welcome to Parks and Cons, companion podcast, the parksandcons.com website and YouTube channel, where we discuss cons, theme parks, collecting, and other fun stuff. It's March 5th, 2022. I'm your host, Sean. I'm here with Carmel.
Hi there.
Parks and Cons, your on-spot podcast, where we take the heart of the acts of best conventions and themed entertainment events around. Today, we are recording at the Disneyland Resort, more specifically at DCA, more specifically right on what we call the parade route here near the wharf and the artichokes booth.
Sonoma Terrace.
Sonoma Terrace in this area. This actually for our audio-only listeners, which has been every listener that we've ever had for 667 episodes. On episode 668, we thought, well, let's try now bringing some video for those that want the video option. So not changing anything with the podcast feed. Everything, it still goes to all the same places. Everybody that's always listened to audio only, you're safe. It's all there. But if you prefer ever to watch something in the video portion, you can see one of the kind of fun things when we started the podcast back in 2014 is, I know for myself, I like listening to podcasts most that are on the spot at places. I love hearing the background sound and where they're at, and I like when they talk about what they're seeing. And now this is kind of that, but actually for those that want to have the YouTube option, they can check it out on YouTube and actually see what it is we're seeing.
Yeah, and so if you're listening, if you were watching, what you would be seeing is we're using the director's view of my phone, and so Sean and I are kind of in a small square, and in the background is the Pacific Wharf area with people just kind of walking by doing the Food and Wine Festival thing, and so that's what you would be seeing if you're watching the video, and those of you watching the video, you see that already.
So with that said, the biggest thing, though, that you would see that we see, and this would be, everybody can imagine it in their mind's eye if they've visited Disneyland or DCA in the last year, or less than a year, I guess the park has been back open, is massive crowds. And so there have been, in fact, actually, it's interesting, about the time that you hit record is probably the least amount of crowds we've seen surrounding us in this entire time. I mean, it has been pretty claustrophobic. And it is a Saturday. We're recording this around 4:50 in the later afternoon here.
Yeah, and it is the first Saturday of the Food and Wine Festival, which has been gone for a couple years, or it got shut down.
Yeah, but the bigger thing is it's windy and very cold for Southern Californians. It's below 60 degrees. So, usually that is one of those things we find at the parks. It kind of clears everybody out, but not today. Everybody came. They're ready. Lines for the food, and that, I mean, we've talked about that in past years, is that's always kind of one of the most formidable things or the least desirable things about the event, and that's no exception this year. And so we'll kind of get into that as we talk about some of the food and things like that. But before that, just the dates for the event. It did kick off on March 4th officially. It opened 2 days prior to that with a few of the booths, although the Sip and Savor Pass was not available yet. We did do kind of a preview video of some of the foods we tried early on. It runs until April 26th, so it's going to encompass all of that spring break season and take us right into practically the summer season. So all going to tie in. They do add some entertainment options, not a ton, but there are a few entertainment options. It's kind of interesting because it's almost like they specifically have a tier for like the littlest of ones, kind of the middle, more family friendly, and then the more adult. And so on the littlest, they have this kind of synergistic pair up that they have here with the new Disney show that they've put out with Alice in Wonderland. And so that's actually called Alice's Wonderland Bakery, and that's from the Alice's Wonderland Bakery show, and it's Alice's Wonderland Bakery Unbirthday Party. It says, calling all junior chefs, sweet decorating magic awaits you at Alice's Wonderland Bakery, featuring special guest chefs at the Hollywood Backlot stage. And I got to see them. I left really right before it started when we first got here the other day on their opening day, and you could see they had all the little ones kind of dressed up in their little baker's outfits, little hats and things like that, aprons. They're all situated at tiny little tables with hand sanitizer at all of them, and then they have the stage. It's over in the Hollywoodland area there on that small staging area there, so kind of an interactive thing for the kids more than just kind of a show.
Yeah, and there isn't an upcharge, so it's included with admission, which is kind of a cool thing, because when we get to the adult things, a lot of those are upcharges. Yeah. But it's kind of interesting. It seems to not be a very long activity. You happened to be over there when I don't remember what I was doing when you went over there. And so later on, I wanted to go kind of see what this unbirthday was. And so we got there about 15 minutes after the start time, at least what was posted on the app. And they were already done. So it was less than 15 minutes, so I didn't get to see what was going on or anything. So I assumed the show went on, and it's just a very short activity, which is kind of interesting. I would have thought that if kids are decorating things that it would be probably 30 minutes, if not even longer. But but I don't know. Like I said, I didn't see what was actually happening, so I'm not sure.
Yep, and we are not the demographic they're targeting for that. So at some point we'll pass by in one of these days and kind of see it, in full and stuff. But it definitely is not a high priority target for us to kind of check out. That said, the Jammin' Chefs, this is kind of the next level up, and this is more a little bit family friendly type of a show, meaning that I think it definitely entertains the adults much better than the unbirthday party does. And that's the Jammin' Chefs combine different cooking rhythms to demonstrate irresistible kitchen syncopation. Fun's on the menu, and Chippendale get into the mix. And it's funny because I'm reading that from the published kind of handbook, the festival guide. But actually, they've added, it has been Chippendale with these kind of faux chefs that kind of create the music. But they've added in Daisy and Clarabelle this year, because I did get to watch this show. They've also moved it over into the Hollywoodland area as well, which is really nice, because before it's been on the kind of center of the parade path over there near the entrance of the wharf and kind of by Little Mermaid, and that created such a traffic jam. And now it's all the way over. They're using, it's kind of sad that's what Hyperion is being used basically as a backdrop, the Hyperion Theater that used to show some, fun entertainment in there, and now it's just basically a backdrop to a kind of walk-by type of show out on the stage. But I believe it was around 10 minutes, somewhere in that neighborhood. They seem to also have more chefs, quote-unquote, more musicians participating in it as well, and it attracted a good crowd there. But it's very high energy, a lot of fun, and it was great seeing kind of a couple characters added into it to give it a little bit more of that kind of Disney magic, if we want to call it that.
Yeah, and that was also that time that I was away from you, so I didn't get to see it. But in past years, obviously not last year, but previous years, I really enjoyed the Jammin' Chefs. The energy's lots of fun, and people are kind of dancing and singing along and stuff because there's so much energy going on. So definitely worth a stop if you're in the area and looking for some entertainment.
Definitely. Then we have our musical performers, which really seems the most, adult of them. It's, they kind of they're almost like a little bit of a concert series around the park where you can go and catch different tunes. Some of them in the daytime, I believe, more of them towards the evening as it gets into the nighttime as well there. Local groups. You've got the Philharmonic, which actually we saw them quite a bit, Not Summer Nights over at over at Knott's Berry Farm as part of like the tech crew, I believe they called them there.
Yeah, and it's Philharmonic, and it's spelled Filharmonic because it's an LA-based Filipino-American a cappella group.
Yep,
and they were
great.
Lots of fun, and we saw them at Knott's, and I didn't even put together that they were the same group until you were like, wait, those are the tech guys. I'm like, oh, wait, what? And then I looked at the picture, and I actually did recognize some of the people in there. So
they're fantastic.
So, yeah, hopefully we'll be able to catch them, because most of these performances seem to be more in the evening, right?
Yeah, I believe, the bulk of them there. You've got Midnight Hour. This is a 1960s kind of cover band featuring the sounds of the Supremes, Aretha Franklin, The Temptations, and more. Not familiar with them, but sounds great. Fat Cat Swingers, we're very familiar with them over the years at Disneyland, doing their kind of big band, brass, Hollywood kind of style music, and they take place over on the Paradise Park stage there. The Tina Aldana Band, we've only seen them once, and that was during, I believe it was the Christmas season here, and I was like really blown away by them. They did some great Latin hits there. Tina Aldana, I had not heard of her previous, and it was just like, she was doing this kind of, her and the band were doing that like one night thing, but they do a lot of Latin 80s and 90s type of songs there, and were really good, so excited to see them here. You've got the Fault Lines, which focuses in on a folk mashup of urban pop and roots country. You've got Island Reggae Band, multi-talented musicians offer joy and positivity through the exhilarating Caribbean music. You've got Midnight Hour, we already hit that one, and then Urban Music Society. I see the way they have them divided up on this guide is by what stage they're at. So Urban Music Society is a collective of musicians that share a passion for entertaining and connecting with audiences from all backgrounds. Unfortunately, no Mostly Kosher. I was really hoping we would see Mostly Kosher return for food and wine, but they are not part of that group. But there are a lot of good options there. And this is, again, all included in normal admission, and the reason we say that again is because the next category we're going to get to is some of these things that are, pay-to-play type of moments.
Yeah, and obviously they're not all performing on all the days, so if you're interested in a specific group, Actually, check the app for one,
Definitely
but you may
check the app.
also want to follow these groups on social. I know some of them do have social media,
Yep.
and sometimes they post their schedules in a more clear fashion. If you're looking for a specific group, than they sometimes do in the app.
Oh, totally.
So
the band is always the best place to go, and I feel like most all of them these days in the parks have Instagram accounts, is where we kind of find a lot of times the info.
Yes.
So great there.
So check the app, check their social media, and figure out if there's a specific group that you're interested in.
Then you've got the family-friendly seminars and demonstrations. These are kind of learning moments, little stage things. A few years ago, we got to check out Just Jen doing kind of some of her recipes and talking on stage, which was great. They don't have them all listed out this year in the festival guide, nor did I find them like clearly easy to find in the app. So I'm not sure if they're all gathered in one place. Basically, what they put in there, they say. So select Saturday and Sundays with festival sponsors. So it's very kind of generic. Don't miss mini cooking demonstrations and educational farm-to-table presentations by some of our festival sponsors involved in growing the food we eat. They also, on Saturdays and Sundays at 4:30, have Disney chefs, and so this is the Disney chefs coming and giving their cooking demonstrations, and then visiting chefs on Saturdays and Sundays 5:30. So the 4:30 and the 5:30, the Disney chefs and the visiting chefs, local kind of restaurants, things like that. Those are very consistent. Saturday, Sunday only, 4:30 and 5:30. 3:30 is occasional, and that is kind of outside where they're teaming up. I think you said you saw a bunch of signage like for Snickers yesterday. I'm not to say Snickers is coming to give a demonstration, but they are leaning in, I feel like, more than normal, even into kind of some brand recognition here of trying to tie in some outside sponsors.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I first walked in, was it yesterday or the day before, off to the right was one of the booths, and it's where they have the, I think I have right here, it's the Nuts About Cheese, and they have the Snickers caramel peanut milk chocolate Mickey macaron, and so there was like this very obvious sign for Snickers and advertising Snickers, and for a second I was like, I feel like I'm at a different park that maybe is in Santa Clarita where there's lots of ads everywhere, and so that was kind of a little different because I'm not used to seeing such overt advertisements at Disney in the same way, but obviously they're a sponsor for the event, and the macaron looks good in the pictures. We haven't tried it yet, but so yeah, I don't know if they're one of the festival sponsors, but I'm guessing on the website they'd probably list out the specific schedule somewhere. We just haven't found it yet. So
yeah. And there's obviously a long history of sponsorship with Disney going back, 64 World's Fair and all that. But
totally.
It does feel a little, heavy-handed and a little less organic this time around. But that's it. So then we move into, those are all free. They do not include any tastings or anything like that. You're just kind of listening to people talk about their thing there. But then they do have some options that include, tasting some things, but also upcharge. So for $25 per person, there are the wine, beer, and mixology education and tasting seminars. These are you get to learn from industry-leading experts in 45-minute beverage education and tasting seminars. Each seminar includes guided tasting selected by the presenter. Mixology seminars include the opportunity to make your own cocktail. And so they have mixology, wine, beer, and sommelier. I didn't want to stumble on that word, but I did. Then you've also got the Carthage Circle Winemaker receptions. These are also select dates. These, though, are $140 per person, so much higher there. They've got one on March 4th at the Brown Estate with Coral Brown. March 18th, La Aristas with sommelier Chris Hull and Artie Johnson, and then Skywalker Vineyards with Tom Johnson. This lets you join celebrated winemakers and wine industry experts for an intimate evening enjoying an outstanding selection of wines and hors d'oeuvres. There also then are on, so those are like kind of the upcharge opportunities there. They also have, though, on the free side, I guess I should put this probably before that, but the beer chats, and these take place over in the Paradise Garden Grill area, where you get to meet industry-leading brewmasters and breweries. These take place Friday through Sunday, 3:30 to 4:15, and they have different brewers that come down and give those talks. So all of these things, you can notice also a theme here that Saturday and Sunday is when most of that type of entertainment's happening. Friday a little bit looped into those types of things. Also, though, also going to be your busiest time at the park for sure. Not that it's going to be, dead even on a Wednesday night these days, but if you want that little bit of extra, you're going to have to give a little bit of extra, pack a little bit of extra patience to kind of handle the crowds and stuff.
More like a lot of patience,
Yeah.
but I mean it's cool to see DCA busy just because obviously it hasn't always been, but it's kind of been overwhelming for a while. And when the food events come in, it's amplified, and so it's very challenging in general. And so definitely the weekends are going to be most challenging, but hopefully they've put some infrastructure in place so that the lines don't take quite as long as some of the previous tastings. But the lines, if you're looking at the video, you can see at least one of them that's very substantial. So
we took some pictures and posted on social yesterday. I mean, there was just some incredible lines. We're talking, and I mean, I saw people on social media saying, waits for food taking over an hour to get from just these little booths. And these are, and we'll jump into kind of the food and, these samples and stuff. I mean, these are not like full meals in most cases that you're getting with your Sip and Savor Pass. These are things that a lot of times you'd like to maybe try 2 different booths. And so you got to tag team and split up and, do things like that just to try a couple of these kind of smaller sample size servings. So
yeah, it's interesting, and they are doing in regards to logistics, the thing where you can order at any of the registers, basically, as long as it's one of the food booths. You can't do that for like the Sonoma Terrace or the Paradise Garden places, I believe, but like the regular food booths, you can just go to one register and order all your stuff, and then take your receipt and pick it up. And in the past, that was really handy because the pickup lines usually weren't so bad. But since the last, Lunar New Year food thing, that's not the case. The lines to pick up the food are very substantial. So, but you do save at least some of your line time if you go and you get order all your stuff at one register, and then you have to hop around and get into the individual lines for the individual places.
Yeah, so as an example, though, like over here at Peppers Caliente, it is basically a walk-up line to order your food. So we could very easily go over there and order anything on the menu. And then the line to pick up the food, I stopped counting around 50 people. And some of them are grouped up, and maybe only one person's getting food of the 3 or 4 in their party. But it's a healthy kind of switchback line that looks more like you're waiting to get on, Space Mountain or something than it is to pick up a little,
Yeah, and they have laid down the tape queue line, so there's like the tape on the ground so that the queue is a little more organized than just randomly long lines throughout the park. But definitely at the Peppers Caliente one, it goes beyond their tape queues. So yeah, it's hopefully it isn't as bad as it looks, but I'm guessing it probably is.
Yeah. So the Sip and Savor Pass does return, and as you noted at the beginning, it's been 2 years since we had the last Food and Wine Festival here at DCA. This is one of those events. We're entering that season now in spring that I think is going to be just interesting, kind of like emotionally for everybody that attends events, conventions and stuff, because we're in that season where things kind of just got slapped away during the pandemic. So in the case of the 2020 Food and Wine Festival, lots of people had their Sip and Savor passes.
We
did. My mom did, lots of us. And like the one I'm holding in my hand now, we had a couple, tabs that we had used, and we had many more to use. And then all of a sudden it was gone. And, that was the least of people's worries, I think, at the time of like, when is the Sip and Savor? What are going to happen with that? But it, was obviously then 2 years later now that the events returned, because when the parks reopened last year, they opened after that season. And so this is the return after 2 years away. So it's interesting. This event itself feels to me a little bit like Touch of Disney, which was kind of the reopening event prior to the parks officially opening. It was kind of like a place to taste. That's a lot of those tasting events. So as we look at Boysenberry Festival and at this event, it doesn't feel like, I don't feel super nostalgic for them. It doesn't feel like it's been 2 years, because I kind of feel like we had them in a way last year because we had so many tastings, in that time. But that being said, this is the return.
Yeah, and actually before we get into the food, we should have mentioned also that Soarin' has, I think just for the time of this event, has been transformed back to Soarin' over California. So we haven't written it, but we do love when that is we prefer it, or at least I prefer it over
like
the regular Soarin'.
Yeah, or at least in the the echo chamber of
Disney
park fans. Yeah, they prefer the California. But yeah, good point on that.
So, yeah.
Okay, so the Sip and Savor Pass though it's $57 for 8 tabs. And then it is $52 if you have the magic key. So you get a $5 savings if you have that, tab. So one of the things you really want to pay attention to if you are getting a Sip and Savor pass is making sure that it works out monetarily, which I forget the breakdown. We've done the math before, but of what it breaks down to with the price, because we can do it right now. So we have 52. So $6.50. So basically, you would want every item that you're going to get to be more than that price at the $52 if you can find it. And most of them are going to be. That's not going to be too hard of a challenge to do. But sometimes you will find things on those lower ends where you're like, well, it'd be better to just buy this one cash than it is to use one of the tabs on it there.
Yep.
And we started using ours, and we actually have a separate video up on the YouTube channel if you are interested, where we did tastings. We came on Wednesday. We did 2 tastings that day. Then we did 3 on Friday. And then we actually have a few things in front of us now that we'll kind of try and talk about as we go. But going back to Wednesday, that was actually my favorite. Do you have it marked there, what we tried?
Yeah, so on Wednesday was kind of a preview soft open. It kind of opened, and as we said, the Sip and Savors weren't even available or anything like that, so they were still working out the kinks with the food and stuff. So what we tried may actually be slightly different than what's available now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did try some stuff.
So the only thing really we've tried so far of the 5 things that I've actually liked to the extent that I would get again, and I actually kind of crave it right now, is the Euro-inspired flatbread featuring Impossible ground beef. And that was like a chipotle hummus. It was quite spicy and really good. It was something that I think I liked when we did that video, and I like more now in retrospect even. And that's at the LA Style booth over by Monsters, Inc. And then you tried the glazed barbecue pork belly.
Yeah, and so with the gyro-inspired flatbread, it is kind of spicy. So if you are sensitive to that, that's probably one that you'll want to skip. It that has, as you said, the chipotle hummus, but then it also has like spiced crispy chickpeas, which were very warm and spicy. And spicy, warm, not temperature warm. So just a heads up there. But it was tasty, and I'm not a big I enjoy meat. I'm not a vegan vegetarian by any means, but I did like the ground beef Impossible meat that was used, and it was very tasty and had like a good texture and good seasoning. So even I enjoyed it. Probably not. I haven't been craving it, but I did enjoy it. And then the barbecue pork belly with furikake, togarashi, mac salad. The mac salad was kind of tasted mostly like just a mac salad that you could get at the grocery store. It didn't taste particularly spectacular, unique, or anything like that. And then the pork belly itself, I thought was very tasty. The sauce that they used wasn't like overwhelming. It was kind of a barbecue flavor. But as with pork belly in general, it wasn't particularly lean meat. There was a decent amount of fat in it and stuff. And so it was tasty, and I enjoyed the combination, the mac and the pork belly. But I'm not sure that I'll necessarily go back there for it, because the flavors were good and I enjoyed it, but it weren't like super unique to me. So.
Yep.
Again, the flavors are kind of vary when you're from one trying to the next. So, yeah.
And then on the Friday, we tried 3 things. They were fine. None of them was like, oh, I hate it. They actually all were, like, to me, the perfect word is fine. I kind of felt it at the time, even now. But let's talk about the peanut butter and jelly mac. That was kind of the one dessert type thing I guess we've tried so far. That was at the Nuts About Cheese booth.
Yeah, and that's described as peanut butter and jelly mac with brown sugar streusel and strawberry crackle. So this, it didn't look all that appealing, but I was very intrigued by the description and the name and stuff. And so I went ahead and grabbed it because I was curious, and I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So it's basically just like standard macaroni. It's not like cheese or anything like that. It's just the pasta. And it seems to have been like mixed with peanut butter, like very coated, kind of like stirred, mixed in with it. And then it had the topping of like some jelly on it. And then on top of it had the streusel and the strawberry crackle. And so to me, it was very reminiscent of kind of having like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So it wasn't like super sweet. I almost don't know if I would consider it dessert versus just kind of a meal, but it was definitely on the sweet side, just not super sweet. And it was kind of, like I said, like having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I was surprised that the strawberry crackle was was basically Pop Rocks. And so, well, one of the bites I hadn't really, I guess, had much of it, and all of a sudden I had all this popping going on in my mouth, and so that was unexpected. So I don't know. I liked it. I don't know if I liked it enough to go get it again. I'd have to be kind of in a weird mood for it, but I did like it more than I expected, and it had an interesting taste to it. So,
and that's a big thing about these tastings, I think, is that you are looking for unique things, and their menus are filled with unique items. So then we tried from the Golden Dreams booth. You picked up 2 items there: the orange glazed Verlasso salmon salad with a citrus vinaigrette, and then the mango carrot gazpacho. I'm a big salmon fan. I have become a big salmon fan in the last few years for whatever reason, but it was pretty dry for me. In fact, in the video when we did that, it was kind of hard to even cut into kind of this block of salmon. So I think that was more about it just kind of sitting there, which is always a challenge with these events. It's one of the reasons why it's tough, like when you cover these things as media events, because it's like your mileage can vary, and when you're at it as a media event, which we have not had for Disney, but you get like the perfect stuff, and then when you come and buy it, a day later at the booth, it might not be so perfect. So I did not really care for either of those. In fact, I only had a couple bites for the video to actually try it, and then I left it at that, and I don't have any intention of going back to them.
And I like them okay. I'm not sure that I'll go back for them, but I did enjoy them at the time. So like the salmon, the salmon, it seemed to have been sitting out, and it was kind of tough. But I still ate a decent amount of it. It was okay. And for the topping, it says it has a citrus vinaigrette. It almost had the kind of pieces of the peel. Zest, like the zest from like an orange or lemon or something on it. So if you got that, obviously the bites were very citrusy. And then it was on a bed of greens, or as Sean calls them, weeds, which I like also. So it was all kind of an okay combination, but it would have been better, obviously, if the salmon was fresh and not hard and kind of chewy at points. But it was okay. And then the mango carrot gazpacho was another one that I kind of got because I was kind of curious, but it's described as coming with grilled shrimp and jalapeno crema. And so basically it was 2 shrimp in this little bowl, and then the jalapeno crema was on top of it. So even though it says jalapeno, it wasn't really spicy. I don't have a huge tolerance for spice, but it wasn't, you could kind of barely even taste the jalapeno, and there was like some diced tomatoes and diced jalapeno kind of on top of it as a garnish, and I thought it all combined well. It wasn't, to me, like super sweet. It wasn't like I was biting into a mango or anything, although you said that it tasted a lot like mango to you, but yeah. I like the fruit, and I have the fruit from time to time, and it definitely wasn't to that point. I couldn't really taste the carrot so much. It was blended well with the mango, I guess, and so it was fine. I don't know that I'll go back and get it again, but it was different again.
And then today, now, with the lines being so crazy today, we opted to not use the Sip and Savor, but we wanted to try a couple more things before podcasting. So we didn't use Sip or Savor. We did mobile order this time. And so this, I believe what you have then, we have 2 items, and then you bought a soda. And collectively between the 3, it was $20. So to give an idea of kind of just the price there. And for those that are going to watch on YouTube, you'll be able to see kind of what the items look like as well.
Yeah, and we did get our past discount when we purchased it, so that was a little bit less because of that.
Cool.
And not basically most of the restaurants that have mobile order have like 1 or 2 items that are that can be used with the Sip and Savor, or at least are part of the event. And so these, as we said, we paid for. So like the one that I think I'm most excited to try is the avocado toast. So let me.
Yeah, which for those that want to see the video on YouTube, this is now the full-size portion, so this is not what you would get with the Sip and Savor. It is a decent size. I mean, for the audio-only crowd, say it's about the size almost of a piece of pizza at Disneyland. So it's that type of plate that they're giving it to you on, and it is looks actually really tasty. It's been just sitting there as we've been recording, and I've been like, oh, I'm looking forward to trying that at some point.
Yeah, and that's available at the Pacific Wharf Cafe, and it's described as having smashed avocado on toasted sourdough bread, fire-roasted cherry tomatoes, mozzarella, cilantro, and balsamic reduction.
Yeah, and that sounds right up my alley. So it's one of mine. And then
the other thing we got was it's called a Fiscalini Farmstead Old World Aged cheddar lager soup, which is
with toasted fig and prosciutto sandwich. So the soup doesn't look particularly appetizing. I mean, it just kind of looks like maybe it looks like a baked potato soup, but it's just kind of a white, a white thick kind of cream soup.
I'm guessing it's going to be a cheesy soup.
Yeah. And then the prosciutto, when you got this, I was like, it looked to me like almost like a peanut butter and jelly, and it's like maybe a quarter of a piece of a sandwich there.
Yeah, and that's again with toasted fig and prosciutto sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Which I'm not a fan of prosciutto, so I'm going to skip that one. I'll let you go with that one, but I will try this soup here as well.
So yeah, the soup, it's just kind of cheesy and has kind of the beer flavoring to it.
That's really good.
So at this point, ours is kind of cold because it's been sitting here a bit, but tasty.
It tastes a bit like the one that Knott's had during one of their tasting events, the beer cheese soup, which I loved. It's a little less, has a little bit less of a straight cheese taste to it, and a little bit more of a kind of cream, but I do like it. And then the prosciutto sandwich, which, what does it say? It comes with toasted fig. So you've got fig and prosciutto, which prosciutto is, it's just a type of a meat, right? Like it's a type of like deli meat, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So how to taste the fig and all that. I mean, that's just nothing about that interests me. So I'm just going to skip that one altogether. I'm not into fig, prosciutto, or what it looks like.
It's okay. It's interesting. The meat, at least in the bite that I got, was kind of chewy. So kind of a little hard to
to podcast and
and
taste
eat
that one.
Yeah. Interesting flavor. I generally like fig quite a bit. Like I love just the fresh fruit. But yeah, this cooked version, it's okay. I mean, if we were at someone's house and they were serving it to me, I would be fine eating it. But I probably won't be going out of my way to get it again here at least. So.
Oh, and then let's try the avocado toast here, which, I mean, it looks awesome. It's interesting because avocado toast, everything about avocado toast, the ingredients I'm always into, but a lot of times I'm not a big fan of the actual item itself. But I was going to say, and that's actually what I'll say, the balsamic is what really hits me on this, and I actually like this quite a bit. It's because I feel like most of the avocado toast I've had in the past, it's not had like a balsamic with it. And I am a balsamic fan, and I think that sits really well with the crispy bread and the
tomatoes.
And the avocado. And tomatoes. That's good.
Trying to get a bite where I'm getting kind of everything to it. I mean, I guess I won't do the bread because that's going to be very messy. But it looks all really great. I mean, it's probably been the most like photogenic thing we've tried this whole time.
Yeah, that's I think a winner for me for sure. That goes up there with the Impossible. So some good looking stuff there, and actually tastes really good. So I would not hesitate to buy that again. And really, this whole thing. So you said, again, $20 for this. That to me seems reasonable relative to like theme park prices, Disney prices, all of that. Like I feel like this could be, a small meal, but this could be a meal for us to share, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, I don't know that I would share the toast with you. I think I'd want my own, and you could have your own. I think for me, it's a good, solid meal. Again, this is the full-size portion, not the sip and savor portion. But yeah, it's very tasty with all the balsamic, the tomato, the mozzarella, the cilantro, I think it was, and then the avocado. It was really, really, really great. And I believe for that item, it was like right around $7 or something like that after our discounts. So I could definitely see getting that. And then because it is at the Pacific Wharf, we can mobile order it and not have to wait in any insane lines. So I'm like really pleased with that one. I could see that one.
I agree.
I feel like that's for me. I mean, obviously you had the flatbread that you love, but I think for me the avocado toast has been kind of the thing that I would be most likely to like say I've got to come back for that. It was really tasty. So
and that's the thing. There's so many items that they have available here. I think everybody's going to find like a winner or multiple winners for them. It really just comes down to, do I have the patience for the crowds? Do I want to spend the money? Because in the end, all of these things are, especially the tasting card. I mean, the types of items. Now what you got here was not a part of the tasting. This was outside of the tasting. But so they're larger portions too. But that's,
But they are available with the Sip and Savory.
Yeah,
just
smaller sizes.
Yeah, and you use your tab, and you have to go wait in that line because. You can't mobile order these items and use your tab, or at least I wouldn't know how to do that. I don't think it's an option. So if you mobile order, you do need to pay, and you can't use the pass. But if you're willing to wait in line, then you can use your pass for those for smaller portions. Although I'd imagine the soup and the sandwich from Sonoma Terrace, I tend to think that's the same portion because it's a really small portion.
Smaller than that, yeah.
But the avocado toast specifically at the sign where I picked it up, it specifically had a sign about the Sip and Savor, and in the writing beneath it said that the Sip and Savor is a smaller portion.
Gotcha. So that is basically a overview of what Food and Wine is this year. I mean, there's extra merchandise. There's an artisan off the page where they're doing kind of more food and wine type tie-in type art and things like that.
And there is also in downtown Disney a lot of the food places have these signs.
Naples, Uva Bar.
Yeah, they have signs that say that they're friends or something of the Food and Wine Festival, and so on the guide they list them as having more festival offerings. So, but I can't imagine that the Sip and Savor is good there
it's not. It's
or anything like that. But
brand tie-in,
Yeah, there's probably an extra item or two on their menus that are kind of seasonal for the event.
Yeah. In the end, I mean, it's basically a spring break in the parks. They're going to be busy, whatever park you go to. It's spring break after a year of closure and pandemics, and so they're going to be even more busy, and then you've got these types of, extra little added value that's going to bring even more people in. So spring is always my least favorite time of year at the parks. I mean, it's my least favorite time of year in general. That's just a me thing. I'm much more into like the shows, the entertainment, obviously the haunts that come with, the Halloweens and the Christmases and just other times of year. But I got to say, I really do like some of the food offerings here. And so it's not going to be the main reason for me to come to the Disneyland Resort. The main reason is still going to be to ride, Haunted Mansion or something like that. But in terms of like mixing it in as an option here and there, I think it's good for that. And for a lot of people, I know for a lot of people, this is the season. This is their favorite thing. And so I'm really glad it's back for all of those people because it's, I know how hard it's been to miss something like, a year of Scary Farm or something. And so to have your Food and Wine Festival back, I know a lot of people, for them, that is their Scary Farm, like, and stuff. So I'm glad it's back, and we're getting back to a little bit more normalcy. Public health continues to improve, and there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world, but hopefully this is a fun diversion for some people during this next month or so until we do get the big ramp up to the summer season and all the stuff that's going to happen with that. So
yeah, definitely exciting times, and it's kind of a hopeful time, and so we'll see how things proceed. Hopefully things just continue to get better and improve and stuff from wherever, whatever state everyone's in. But but yeah, it's nice. It's kind of as uncomfortable as it's been just because it's very chilly, and I had been wearing a scarf and gloves and stuff, but for podcasting and for the video, I took those things off, and so I'm like really bundled up, but really kind of cold and stuff. But it is nice having this break because we know that the heat is coming very soon.
Yep.
And so it's awesome that we have some cool weather and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be warm. So in addition to packing your patience, obviously it's going to be additionally required because it's going to be very warm and stuff very soon. So it'll be crowded in the parks, and we've been dealing with that for months now. So but just have to pack your patience. We always try to pack our patience, and as challenging as it is, we do it.
Yep. So with that, we will go ahead and wrap up. Before we get to the calendar of things coming up and some of the kind of end matter there, if you are watching this as a video, please like and subscribe, and please let people know. If you are not watching this as a video, again, we thank you we know a lot of our listeners have been very loyal for over 600 episodes. A lot of people stuck with us, and we appreciate that and all that you do, and the sharing of the podcast in any way is appreciated. So on the calendar, some things coming up in the weeks ahead here as we go into, or as we're continuing through March and the start of April. April, TFCon, the Transformers Convention, returns to the Pasadena Convention Center, and that is March 11th through the 13th. March Madness is a fan celebration of the halfway point to Knott's Scary Farm. That's going to be led by the fans, again, at Knott's Scary Farm on the 13th. Knott's Boysenberry Festival. We'll actually be doing a preview of that, a media tasting coming up very soon here, but the event itself kicks off on March 18th. Ghouls Day Out, one of the Spooksy Boo stable of shows, a fun Halloween vibe there. That is March 19th. IE Outdoor Toy Exchange, also March 19th. Eben, Fear of a Black Planet. This is a new exhibit over at the UCR, the Culver Center there. That begins March 19th. We're hoping to get out there and cover that at some point. The Model Kit Collector Show, March 20th. Toyzilla, March 26th. And then WonderCon, the big old WonderCon that we have missed so much. That returns April 1st to the 3rd. Lots of content to come with that. Preview videos, planning videos, all sorts of stuff. Once again, we want to thank everybody that follows along with us. If you are interested in supporting our content, please consider joining our Patreon crew, our Parks and Cons crew over there. Huge thanks to the Parks and Cons crew for all of your support. Also, if you can, please consider leaving us a review wherever it is you find the podcast, or again, that like and subscribe if it's in the video form. Remember, you can follow along with us on social media for in-the-moment, real-time updates in the parks, at the conventions, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, YouTube. All of them Parks and Cons. Wrapping up here at the DCA Food and Wine Festival for 2022. Until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.